Hi all, today's video I want to show you my Alatreon build for when Alatreon is ice active, so you're using a fire weapon, and along with that explain why I built it and some of the strategies. I may even just start the hunt, I won't necessarily go through the whole fight, it's more about the build to show you what you can do as an option. I find this one works for me. So the first thing I'll point out is basically that the Kia Fire longsword is an amazing weapon. As you can see here on my build at the moment, the weapon's base affinity is sitting at 30% and my overall affinity is 50%. Some people might actually think that that's too much affinity, because when you look at the fact that I have full agitator and full Wex, between those two fully active, that's an extra 70% affinity, sitting me at 120%. But for this fight, softening Alatreon's head in particular can be a bit difficult, and the hit zone value increase when a softened head versus a non-softened head is not that much for this fight, similar to Fatalis. So I can access the first part of Wex only. When you have a look at this on my build now, if we go to just any of these decos really for now, just to show you that weakness exploit at level 3, attacks that hit weak spots have 30% increased affinity. The extra 20% is when you're wounded via the clutch claw attack, which I will do just for the sake of getting thorn pods for a KO, but I'm not actively doing it to get the affinity, because sitting at 50% base affinity with 30% component of Wexy and Agitator sits me bang on 100%, so I can literally just fight the monster without having to worry about softening it, and it allows for quite a smooth hunt with the longsword without having to stop and break up a movement just to get a soften midway through because you need to. With this build I don't. So going back to the build now, we'll have a look at our deco loadout. We've got full agitator by the Challenger Charm and one Challenger 4. Fire attack is at 6 maximum, and that's key to this fight, is go in as much element as you can. I have dropped a little bit, as you're about to see, for the reasons I'll explain soon. Attack boost here is sitting at 5. 4 is the main key there to make sure you get that extra 5% affinity. Tool Specialist, which is a wonderful skill to get your mantles back a lot earlier. If you do get hit a lot in this fight, you could swap that out for Divine Blessing. You won't get your mantles back as fast, but it will be a bit of a safer hunt. If you do go down that path, I would suggest level 3 or preferably level 5, because if we just select that at the moment, you'll see the reason why is at level 3, I don't even know where it is actually at the moment because I don't use it, so bear with me as I try and find it. There you go, shows you how much I use it. So at level 3 you do get 50% reduced damage. Level 4 it's only an extra 10. Level 5 it stays at 60%, but it procs more often, and the difference at level 5 goes from a 25% chance to proc to a 40% chance. So almost half the time you're getting hit, you're going to reduce your damage by 60%. Pretty handy. I don't do it, like I said, I prefer my mantles. And the reason being is temporal obviously helps immensely to block a lot of attacks, not everything. And the evasion mantle is a very, very awesome mantle. It's more about the attack bonus you get from proccing it than the evasion you get from it, especially on longsword. When you proc it for 20 seconds, you'll get as much as 30% extra damage, which is enormous, and you'll see that if you ever try and use it when you get hits with it, with and without it. So 2 points of blight res, absolute must in this fight. You don't want to be popping nulberries, especially with weapons that take a long time to sheath. So Alatreon will Dragon Blight you quite often, and that completely nullifies any elemental damage that you're doing. And the more it happens, the harder it gets to get that elemental topple. With 2 points of Blight res, I think it's only lasting for about Dragon Blight for maybe 15 seconds, maybe less. And I only have 2 points because I have access to Coalescence then, and I have 3 points in Coalescence, which is enormous. I'll just filter that skill quickly and you'll see what I mean. The first level is huge attack boost at plus 12 for just 1 point. From there, the attack boost goes up by 3 each time. Each level gives you an extra plus 30 to your elemental attack. And if you're doing status type builds as well, you get 5, 10 or 15, so it's a very good skill to have. Certainly a bit riskier using the Rime Guard Gamma helmet instead of the Dragon Head beta, which has got full stun res, but if you're not getting hit enough, you'll be pretty safe. More on the build. Tool Specialist, we got Crit Eye level 3. If you haven't already noticed, that Crit Eye level 3 is purely from the Dragon Barbs Alpha. I do not have one single Expert Jacko on here, yet my affinity still sits at 50%. So even though it might initially look, like I was saying earlier, that I've got too much affinity, I have all my deco slots available for everything else. And as you can see, I'm fitting them all in. Full crit boost, full X, full peak performance, full coalescence, blight resistance I've covered. Evade window sits only at 2, and that's actually coming off the armor, but this is longsword where you don't really evade by rolling too much. It's more about counter-attacking. 1 point of medicine in there rather than tool specialist. That's a bit of a catch-22 which way to go. I find the way I fight and the extra tool specialist on the mantle to get my evasion mantle back faster, that works for me. And that point of medicine, if I do get hit, allows me, instead of healing, to get back up to full health to activate peak performance much faster. That's just part of the build. That not really an issue. Critical element obviously from Kiar, which is awesome, and the Shaver Deco for that time that I do actually soften him at the start of the fight and then midway through for that second Thorn Pod. And the primary reason for those, like I said, is to get those Thorn Pods for the KO, not for the damage. I've found in my experimenting, the stopping, sheathing, softening does get a bit of damage, while the soften and the extra damage you get after that is fairly minimal. Yet you've lost the chance to maybe do a helm splitter or something instead of soften. So I find it seems a bit weird, but this is actually a very nice way to go. Alright, now the weapon itself. I'll go to the smithy actually to show you this. The augments on it. Affinity increase 1, health regen 1, and element status effect up 1. The other option could be remove affinity and go element status effect up 2. You'll get an extra 30 element on there, so it's pretty nice. Helps you get that EKO. It does mean though you will have to keep those softens up with the extra affinity loss. Custom upgrades, I haven't done them yet, so you'll see this increase. What I do here, when it's available, I'll take element, 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 element. Now we have attack, element of one more element here. So here we have sharpness. Now I would prefer to take sharpness. If you have a look on the screen there, it actually shows that a fairly decent increase to sharpness, so I could go with attack power for a +7, which is sort of decent, or a +3 in affinity, which I've already got plenty, so I prefer that. I have to go get a guiding rime crystal to do it, but that extra sharpness allows me effectively to complete an entire hunt without sharpening. Certainly at the very least get to eschaton and sharpen then. Whereas if I just went for that attack, I may run out of sharpness. So that's about it. Hopefully you enjoyed that. Give it a try. Whatever weapon you use, I do recommend either full blight res or 2 points of blight res with coalescence. Use the right element. Dragon element doesn't work very well at all. And also boost your elemental attack with those element decos on there. Again, just quickly before I go, I'll show you that final one for fire attack. I've put all 6 points in there, and you can see that final point gives you that extra 10% bonus over the previous point, so it is worth going all in. You'll see on my final build here, I'll just do it this way. Oop, wrong button. I'm sitting at 860. The maximum you can actually get on this is 890, and the difference is that affinity augment versus element up 2, so I'm virtually as high as possible, and another 90 on top of that when coalescence procs. Hope you enjoyed this video. See you next time.